Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking way past the final scores and the highlight reels. We're actually going to unpack the hidden business structures that are literally powering the global sports industry. It's fascinating, right? We're going to break down how the very format of a sport completely dictates its entire business model. But hey, before we really get into the mechanics, I've got a quick question for you. When you picture stadiums just absolutely packed with screaming fans, which sports league worldwide do you think reigns supreme in sheer attendance? You're probably picturing global soccer powerhouses, or I don't know, maybe those massive American football stadiums, right? Well, the data actually reveals a pretty incredible paradox here. If we look back at the 2014 to 2015 season, Major League Baseball easily, and I mean absolutely easily, wins total attendance, with over 73 million fans. That's a staggering number. But check out the average game metrics. The NFL completely crushes the competition, drawing nearly 69,000 fans per match, compared to MLB's 30,000. So why the huge difference? It all boils down to one word: scarcity. See, 162 baseball games dilutes the average, while a really short 16-game NFL season creates this massive, almost desperate demand for every single matchup. Ultimately, structure dictates strategy. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for unpacking these models. 1. The business of sports. 2. Leagues and the hometown advantage. 3. Tours and the traveling spectacle. 4. Economic and environmental impacts. And finally, 5. Crossover, where the best of both worlds collide. Section 2. Leagues, the hometown advantage. So at its core, a league isn't just some random collection of matchups thrown together. It's actually a highly curated schedule of reoccurring contests at established home venues, all playing out over a competitive season. And the magic word here? Consistency. Fans know exactly when and where their team is going to play. It allows local communities to literally set their calendars by the schedule. It's incredibly reliable. Now, we can break these massive machines down into 5 functional elements. First up is format. That's basically the design of the regular and postseason schedules. Next is hierarchy, which is how major leagues connect to their minor league systems. Then we have multiplicity. This allows for parallel structures, kind of like the American and National Leagues in baseball. Fourth is membership, which dictates franchise ownership. And finally, governance. That's the centralized power that enforces the rules and negotiates those massive shared media contracts to maintain competitive balance across the board. And this brilliantly illustrates why the league model is just so financially powerful. The home venue isn't just a building, right? It's a real piece of local identity. It's a gathering place. This deep emotional value translates directly into the absolute lifeblood of the league, season ticket holders. That loyalty guarantees a reliable, upfront revenue stream before a single pitch is even thrown or whistle is blown. It's a totally brilliant setup. Moving on to Section 3, Tours, the traveling spectacle. The core pivot here is really the type of sport we're talking about. While team sports almost universally rely on those rooted, stationary leagues we just talked about, individual sports, things like tennis, golf, mixed martial arts, motorsports, they thrive on what's called the nomadic tour model. Because, well, think about it. Without a 50-player roster that needs a permanent, state-of-the-art training facility, the athletes themselves become the traveling product. Just think about the Indy Racing Series or that massive winding peloton of the Tour de France. These events completely rely on dynamic, rotating schedules. So instead of waiting around for fans to commute to a permanent stadium, tours bring the entire spectacle directly to new cities and new countries. And honestly, the logistics alone are kind of mind-boggling. Moving the Tour de France, transporting tons of barriers, broadcast equipment, thousands of staff every single night, it's like moving a small city. Because the tour is only in town for a few days, it acts as an explosive, temporary festival rather than a permanent fixture. So you might be wondering, how does a tour actually function without a regular season? Well, they operate under unified ownership, sure, but they rely heavily on global travel. And instead of focusing on win-loss records, athletes accumulate points all over the world to climb up a unified ranking system. But the true financial engines behind all this? The marquee events. We're talking the Grand Slams in tennis, the Indy 500. These crown jewels are the ones that draw the highest points, the most media attention, and absolutely the largest global audiences. Section 4. Economic and environmental impacts. First up, let's talk about the host city boom. When a major tour rolls into town, it injects a tremendous amount of capital directly into the local economy. Hotels sell out instantly, restaurants are absolutely flooded with patrons, and shopping districts just thrive. It creates this highly lucrative temporary economic high. In fact, it's so profitable that you have mayors practically tripping over themselves in these cutthroat bidding wars just to secure the hosting rights. But, and this is a big but, that boom comes at a severe cost: 50,000 global hectares. To put that into perspective, that is the estimated ecological footprint of just the Tour de France alone. Moving thousands of athletes, their support staff, international media, and all those fans, it generates a truly staggering environmental toll. The massive amount of waste from temporary setups and the huge spike in carbon emissions, it's a really stark reminder that the future of the tour model desperately, absolutely needs to pivot toward green technologies. Which brings us to our final section, 5, crossover, best of both worlds. So, what exactly happens when the highly structured, reliable world of leagues collides head-on with the dynamic, traveling circus of tours? Well, you get the ultimate hybrid mega event, the Super Bowl. Think about it. While it obviously serves as the ultimate traditional league championship for the NFL, in its actual execution, it operates almost entirely as a massive tour event.
Normally, a league relies heavily on that home field advantage we talked about, but the Super Bowl totally strips that away. Instead, it utilizes a neutral site location, just like a tour does. Cities engage in these brutal bidding processes, sometimes spending hundreds of millions of dollars, promising the NFL massive economic incentives and huge infrastructure upgrades. It demands week-long, mega-event tourism that completely takes over the host city. And we see this exact same tour behavior adopted by college basketball's March Madness, right? They rotate those regional rounds specifically to maximize global visibility. Honestly, it's almost ironic seeing legally amateur sports masterfully deploying these billionaire tour tactics just to maximize their profit.
So, we've seen how leagues build these deep local empires, how tours create massive global spectacles, and how the biggest events on Earth combine the two for maximum profit. But as we close out today's explainer, I really want you to consider this. As host cities continue to bid billions for these events, how will the balance of booming economics and severe environmental impact shift in the future of sports? When the circus comes to your town, what is the true cost of our entertainment? Definitely something to think about the next time you buy a ticket. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.